My name is Lloyd White, United States Navy. I had a choice of the Army or the Navy, and I selected the Navy.
What ship were you on?
United States Wells, USS Wells, DD 628. Well, you must remember this is close to 70 years ago. It was considered a large ship. 1450, 1,450 ton. That's the size of the ship. Now that displacement. Our mission was to run with the oilers to protect them from Japanese submarines.
What was your job on the ship?
Well, we all had things to do. Sometimes I was a fireman, and toward the end I ran the evaporators to make fresh water. We made fresh water out of seawater. It's condensation from the boilers that heats the tubes, and then you take the evaporation off of that and try to remove all the salt. Well, we had to have very salt-free water for the boilers. The boilers could not stand any water with any salt content in it. So when we were making salt-free water, the best water went into the supply storage tanks that were to be used for the ship's boilers. The water that we use for showers and drinking could have a certain amount of salt in it. So we put that water in the other tanks for storage.
What were your daily routines?
My daily routines. Well, in the military, I'm trying to put this into words you might understand. You're on watch 4 hours, and then you're off 4 hours. Now, 4 hours may be from 4 till 8, 4 in the morning till 8 in the morning. It may be from 4 in the afternoon till midnight. Depends how much watch you get. And when you're not on watch, there's various jobs to do, aboard ship especially, such as maintaining the ship.
What were some of the rules that you had on board?
Just to do your duty, I guess. Do what was asked of you. Daily training, calisthenics, learning how to get up early, learning how to obey orders, learning how not to dispute anything we were told to do. One night, and I was angry with myself for this. There had been something at sea, and the nights are dark. I mean, they're so dark you can't see it, and you don't have any lights. There's absolutely no lights at all whatsoever during wartime, especially. Anyhow, and there had been a collision. Anyway, there was a ship in distress, and there were guys out there, and you've seen the referee's whistle. Well, we were all issued one of those. So all I could hear was, and their guys are out there bobbing around. But it was pitch dark, but we had men out there looking for them. And I guess, I don't know, we might have found one or two. The other ships were looking also. But that was, I'm standing on the rail thinking it was funny, but when I look back at it, it was not funny. It was not funny. Those poor souls out there in the middle of nowhere.
What was food like on board?
Well, it sort of depended. When we first went out to sea, sometimes we were at sea for 30 days. We had a good supply of food, but toward the end of 30 days, food was kind of skimpy, and then we ate whatever was available, sausages, cold sausage, spaghetti, various things, whatever was handy. But otherwise, food was good. I never saw so much coffee being there. Everybody had a cup of coffee in their hand, and we'd run out, when you get through, you just throw a cup over the side, and they'd run out of cups, and we were drinking it out of bowls, and pretty soon we didn't have any bowls.
What were your living quarters like?
Well, the crew's quarters were just a series of bunks. Canvas bunk with a foot locker at the foot of them. In our ship, it was just a small, very democratic control ship. It was first come, first served. The first bunk you came to that was empty, you joiled in it. And how many there were, I don't remember.
How long were you on the ship?
2 years.
Did you have much communication with your parents or
I
family?
received letters from my wife. I wrote letters. And my sisters, other parts of my family. Well, this is one thing that I remember. I went aboard the Wells February 2nd, and I hadn't had any mail for 30 days. We left Golden Gate January 1st. So a month, 30 days later, I went aboard the Wells, and I hadn't had any mail. And I didn't get any mail until, I think it was March. And when I got the mail, I just sat down by a palm tree, went back against the tree, and I read all the letters from my wife. And cried a little.
What did you do for entertainment?
Well, there really wasn't any. You socialized with your friends, played cards, wrote letters. Occasionally we went to one of the islands for liberty, an island just being a sandbar more or less, a few palm trees. And we could drink a little 3-2 beer and socialize. One time, this was not funny. When I look back at this time, it wasn't at the time. We were to go over to one of the islands on liberty, and we had the boys loved to go over there because they took some beer over and they could drink a couple cans of beer. And halfway over there, the boat died. And I was supposed to be in charge of running the boat, and I wasn't experienced enough, and I didn't know why it died. So we're sitting out there in the middle of the ocean, bobbing around, and everybody's getting upset, and the beer's getting warm. And I guess somehow they signaled the ship, and somebody come out and started it for us. And then I learned after that how to correct that. I didn't do it again. I don't remember the exact dates anymore. But we went to Okinawa after Iwo Jima. And that's when the Japanese were in their last throes, more or less. And they were using these suicide planes. And they were diving into mostly destroyers. And one of the destroyers we were by got hit, and it was out of commission, and we towed it to Guam from Okinawa. Almost 50%. We run some and we towed it some, but we got to Guam later, and we weren't there very long. And then we went to the Philippines, and on June 21st, we got our orders to come home. Then we left the Philippines June 21st, 1945, and arrived in Bremerton, Washington, sometime in July. I don't remember exactly what date. And I used to have when they get your orders to go home, they have the ribbon, homeward bound ribbon. And they cut it up and everybody got a little scrap. I had a scrap of that for years, but I don't think I have it anymore. You know, they fly all the things on the mast for various things. Mm-hmm. And that when they flew the homeward bound banner, and then they cut it up and I got a piece of it. After the ship got back running, we went out for a couple trial runs. And then we got our orders to go down to the canal, through the Panama Canal, and up to New York. We were there for Navy Day, October 27th. And the Missouri was in the front, and we were the second one, if I remember right. I used to have pictures of that. We were the photography ship. We had the photographers taking pictures of all the events. And I got to march in the parade on Fifth Avenue in New York City. Everybody was thanking you, congratulating you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. People were grateful, and they showed their gratitude.
Right.
That's something I wish you'd always remember. Somebody does something for you, show your gratitude and your appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't want anything else. They don't want, and payment, they just want you to show your appreciation. There's nothing like a thank you. It was the most wonderful togetherness I've ever witnessed. Never had witnessed it since. Everybody was, there was complete togetherness, and I haven't seen it like that since in any way. The people were, you couldn't get enough. There was so much satisfaction and so much. I guess that's what I want to say. People were. I wish it was that way. I wish it were that way. And then from there, we went down to Charleston, South Carolina, and put the ship out of commission. And after a while, I was real disappointed. We were tied up in what you call a nest. I show you. Here. Here's the pier. Here's one ship. Here's the second ship. Here's the third. Here's the fourth. We were the fifth one out. Well, our plant was lit off. That means our boilers were running, and we were supplying all the power to these other ones. So every day I see these guys going home with their sea bags over their shoulders and going, "I won't come. I can't go home." You know what I mean? And another fellow and I heard him. What was his name? Oh, I do remember. He's an electrician. We went up to see the captain. And they said, "Captain," I guess he was an Irishman from Boston. "We have our 36 points. We want to know why we're not allowed to go home. We have our points." And his remark was, "I had to draw the line someplace, and I drew it on you." So we went back down to the ship. The guys all hung around in midships at the machine shop. That's where all the conversation went on. Everybody said, "How'd you make out? How'd you make out?" You have to picture this. They're in there, and I went in. "How'd you make out?" And I said, "The SOB drew the line on me." And I turned around, he was right behind me, which I didn't realize. So then we left and went home. I went to Great Lakes, got my discharge. My wife and my sister came in to get me at Great Lakes, and I got in the back seat and took my uniform off and put on my civvies in the back seat of the car. I said, "There, welcome home and goodbye, Navy."
What was the first thing you did when you got home?
Hugged my wife and kids.
I would assume you missed them quite a bit.
I certainly did. And I felt for them because I knew she was having a hard time. Actually, it's too bad you can't be interviewing her. She had a worse life than I did. Trying to live on a meager wage, care for 2 children, to work. I was proud being able to serve in a time of war, but I never figured it that way. But when I think back, I guess I must have been proud. I've always been glad I served. I can hold my head up and say I did my part. I did what was asked of me.